greenhouse update. I have to laugh a little bit because I feel like I'm talking to myself when I do these, but I like to watch them from other people, so here we are. So right now we have almost all spring starts in the greenhouse. Lots of the stuff on this side was started in February, but some of it was started in January. It just looks like it was started in February. And then a few things were started in March. So what I'm going to go over today is what I started in the greenhouse in January and how it's doing. So this is the big greenhouse, and all of the things that were doing really well have been kicked out into the small greenhouse, and they could be planted out, except I don't have time right now. So most of these trays that look pretty empty are the early March trays, but some of them are mid-February trays. So let's just do a little comparison on something that I know right where it is. It is the calendula right here. These are calendula seedlings. They're looking good, but they're not ready to plant out yet. Of course, I did not put a date on that tag. I have dates on like everything, but not that. So I'm gonna go with mid-February calendula. So I know that's not the old stuff. And then we'll come over here and I'll try to climb back there to this is the January 11th calendula. So you can see it's bigger. It has more leaves, mostly. Like this one has 4 true leaves. Most of them have 4 true leaves or have 2. And the ones that were started in February only have 2 little baby true leaves. But the plants aren't that much bigger. The February ones are clearly growing a lot faster. The status, which is the status, started January 19th, and it is tiny, but healthy. It just took a really long time to do anything other than have those first 2 leaves. So I don't think they were getting enough sunlight because the days are so short. And now that they're taking off. They did fine with the cold nights. Most of these bigger plants, the ones from January, have all been through at least a night or two that the low temperature was around 10 degrees and they were in the greenhouse with frost cloth but no supplemental heat. But it took until about mid-February for most of these to really start growing. The Persian cress here has been doing good. It's kind of ready to get out of those tiny cells, but it was doing really well with the low daylight hours. But the snapdragons, which are in here, those are January 16th snapdragons. They're 6-8 weeks in. I don't know, too slow. This is more status. It's finally perking up. I'm gonna get out of that spot. Another thing which we can compare when we get to the other greenhouse, the lettuce has done really well. It doesn't really like the extreme cold temperatures, but it has no damage. And this is February 6th lettuce, so it's coming along. This is February 6th spinach. It took a little while to germinate the lettuce, the spinach, and this second round of kale, but in a week or 2 they will be big enough to plant outside at the rate they're going currently. Where the January started kale and lettuce are kind of just now to a size where they could be planted out. So it's like they're separated by a month in terms of planting, but only about a couple weeks in terms of size. So the low daylight hours really slowed them down. So some other things we've got started here. We've got Dara in this tray that was started in January, and it is finally really taking off. Here's some Rudbeckia in this tray. It's finally growing enough, but I mean, it was so small you couldn't even see it for over a month. That's not normal for Rudbeckia. It just it just slowed it down tremendously. The only thing I tried to grow that just really couldn't handle the cold in the January in the greenhouse was Salvia. And it did well outside in the fall. I'm looking for some here, but I don't see it. It did well outside in the fall, and it was frost tolerant. It didn't mind the cold, but it did not like it as a seedling at all. I'm not sure what this tray is. This looks like more. This is more of the tiny Rebecca. See, that says January 14th, and it is March 5th. It should be bigger than that. And those are little tiny snapdragons, but they were just so slow. And these were all germinated indoors and then moved immediately outside. So that time that they had was not spent germinating. It was just spent growing, or in this case, not growing. I'm trying to look for something else out here. We started some new salvia this week since it clearly didn't like the cold or short daylight hours. One thing that really doesn't mind is chamomile. Chamomile has done really well. I will have to go over to the other greenhouse to show you all of the other things that did really well on low daylight hours in the cold greenhouse. Everything has been fine with the cold except for that salvia. So I guess I will work on a list here of what everything is. I will put it on the screen. I've got notes I've been taking, what did really well, what did moderately well. I've got celery here that was started. I put seeds in the greenhouse in kind of a winter sowing method in a little container, and they took a full month almost, probably 3.5, 4 weeks to germinate. This is lemon balm. This is coreopsis. This is dill. I have kind of accidentally started way too much dill. But last year my dill wouldn't germinate, so this year I kind of went a little overboard on the dill. One thing that another thing that seems to have struggled is parsley. This is parsley. This is dirt because you can't find the parsley. Right here is a baby parsley. And there's only 3 of them in this whole tray, and all the seeds that went in here were already germinated. So they obviously didn't like something about this. And when I say they're already germinated, they were germinated on a paper towel in a warm space, and then as soon as a little root was sticking out, we stuck them in this dirt. So we knew the seeds were germinated. They didn't like that. The other thing that seems to have not liked that is chives. We had the chive seeds germinated on the paper towel, and then like these 2 sections here should all be chives, and there's 2 growing. And then I had a whole nother tray of chives, and I think there were like 4 in the whole tray. So I'm going to be getting some more seeds. Those were February 18th, and the seeds were already germinated. So here on March 5th, there should be little plants sticking up, and there's not. So I guess I'll take you over to the big greenhouse and we'll see what's going on over there. There's my dill. Should have taken a picture for you. These pallets are set out so that I have some place to put out all these guys. So we're now in the small greenhouse. These are all of the seedlings that I started in January. You can tell how much, okay, there's a couple trays in here that were started earlier than January, but you can tell how much more they've grown than the ones that are still in the greenhouse. So these are Shirley Poppies. I kind of accidentally started approximately 4 bazillion of them because the seeds are really small. I tried to start Icelandic poppies at the same time, and they didn't work out. Some of them you can see, like these pink guys, are a little cold stressed. They were just in a different place in the greenhouse than these. But now they're all here together. These are agrostemma. They're doing really well, ready to get out of their pots. This is Bee's Friend, or I think it's called Fiddlehead flower. It's doing really well, ready to plant out. Come around to the other side here. These are bachelor buttons, all ready to go out. I just have to get myself ready to put them out. This tray is one that I started last fall, which is why there's Persian cress blooming in here. But it's about half. There's a purple Persian cress, a couple Icelandic poppies right there. They were too small to go out in the fall when I was fall planting all my other stuff. So here we are. They are still in the greenhouse. I put them in these big 32 cell trays so that they could make it through the winter. And whenever I start planting all this other stuff, these snapdragons will go in, and those back there are mostly foxglove. There's one dianthus that snuck in, or Sweet William. These are my 2 trays of kale, cauliflower, broccoli, bok choy. Almost all of them were started January 11th. There's some smaller ones in the back there where I had a type of seed that didn't germinate, so I replaced it. Like this says it's cauliflower, but this is really purple kale that I put in later. And these other guys that are small were just added in later, but these guys are ready to plant out. I just haven't prepped that space yet. So this is my January planted lettuce. Most of that, all the big ones are the January planted. The smaller ones I added February 6th, and they are catching up. Like these little guys are catching up to their January brother. But you can tell that the one planted in early January grew better than the ones planted in early February or more. There's actually a difference where some of them you can't even tell, like the calendula in the other greenhouse. It's hard to tell. So this is more Persian cress. It's all ready to go out as soon as I get around to it. And this is chamomile that is all ready to go out and doing really well. Some of these are a little dry, but this tray is doing really well. So this tray is miscellaneous stuff that I threw in here in the fall. Some of them are actually weeds, like this plant, and I know I saw another one. That's a weed, that's a weed, that's a weed. But these are all Nigella. I found them in a pot, just they had self-sown in a pot, and so I split them all up when they were really tiny and put them in here, and they're finally taking off. There's a Sweet William in here. They really need to be fertilized a bit more often, but that's what's there. Over here, these are my Plant Start Csa Peppers. We just started them. See, there's little pepper babies, all germinated on paper towels and then put out here because it speeds up the germination so much. Like when I try to germinate peppers out here, even when I keep it above 50 at night, they just go so slow. Putting them in the germination chamber at about 80 degrees, they germinate in 3 days. So they are coming up really fast in here, and I'm taking them, these trays, they go in that box at night with the light on. It stays between 70 and 80 degrees. They love it. It really speeds up their growth. As they get bigger, I'll leave them out at night on the warmer nights, 50 or so degrees. And eventually they'll have to stay out no matter what, and they won't fit in the box anymore. But anyway, that's about all I have for today. You can see all of these plant babies looking so beautiful. I really need to get planting, but right now it is raining and it's going to be we're gonna have a low in the mid-teens coming up. Our forecast in the next 7 to 10 days is not real fun. Lots of rain and some lows in the mid-teens, so I am going to wait to plant all these out and then go really fast hopefully and get them all planted. And I also am waiting to start a long list, which I will put here, of my early to mid-March seedlings, because it's just not worth it to have all those extra trays when I can't get these out. Obviously my greenhouses are pretty full. I could fit a few more trays in the other one really, but they're mostly full, and the stuff I'm starting now is going to be less cold tolerant. The Gomphrena, Celosia, whatever I put on the list that I I'm telling you I'm putting there, then those flowers will not tolerate the 9-degree nights or whatever that these other cold tolerant plants did. So we will hold off just a little bit on them, and I'm hoping that just like these grew faster, or not these did fine with the low daylight hours. I'm hoping that the warmer nights and more daylight will speed up the warm weather plants to the point where I don't have to start them as early. We'll see.